It's July of 1995. Family and friends are gathered to celebrate the wedding of Tracy Bernard Burleson and Pauletta Ross. Pauletta's sister, Joyce Bingham, is a bridesmaid.
She wore a beautiful dress. It wasn't white, of course. He had on a suit. It was really nice. It was nice.
Their love story begins a year earlier in the 5th Ward at the First New Mount Calvary Baptist Church. This church is one of the oldest in the 5th Ward, a section of Houston settled by African Americans after the Civil War.
Here in Houston and in the 5th Ward, in the South in general, churches play a big part in people's lives. It's a place where people gather, where they make their friends, where a lot of people make lifelong relationships. It's sort of the center or social hub of a lot of people's lives here.
Members of this congregation remember the atmosphere fondly.
When you go to First New Mount Calvary, you felt special, even if you didn't know nobody. You were one of us.
The preaching was good, the singing was good, everything was good, so I just really liked about it.
It wasn't just for the members, it was for the neighborhood. And that's what makes it a good place.
Tracy Burleson grows up in the church and dreams of one day becoming pastor. Pinky Johnson has been a member for nearly 50 years. She recalls Tracy as a boy.
I was a matron at the church and worked with the young children. And Tracy, he was in the choir and he played the drums and he just did good things.
Religion is a big part of Pauletta Ross's life as well. After her second divorce, she starts visiting First New Mount Calvary looking for emotional support. Her sister Joyce is already a member of the congregation.
I invited her to the church because I wanted to make sure she was all right, you know.
At the time, Tracy is just out of a relationship. He is 28 and she is 40. Despite their age difference, sparks fly almost immediately. Psychotherapist Stacy Kaiser and forensic psychologist Brian Russell think Tracy and Pauletta's feelings were in line with their common interests.
He's younger, he's charismatic, he's engaging, and it's a little bit of a lift for a woman to think, wow, I got this young guy who's up and coming and something that I'm interested in, which is the church.
She was admiring his aspirations to be a pastor in the church, and that felt good to him, that she believed in him and he could achieve that and everything.
I think that Tracy wanted someone who would look up to him, and Pauletta looked up to him.
Less than a year after they meet, Tracy and Pauletta are married.
They seemed to be in love with each other. I felt like my sister found someone that she loved and she could trust.
Both Pauletta and Tracy have children from previous unions. But Pauletta's kids are now grown, and Tracy's 12-year-old son, William, lives with his mother. The new couple decides to take in foster children and start a brand new family.
I'm the one that talked her into it because I was telling her so many kids need help. You know, it's so many children that's looking for love, you know, and I felt like she had the love that she could give them.
The family moves into a nice home in a good neighborhood and settle into their lives together.
When you see them at church, they just look like they just really loved each other.
But to Tracy, one person is still missing in this perfect family portrait. His biological son, William, has sickle cell anemia, a rare blood disease that causes severe chronic pain and requires constant medical attention. Now that he's settled, Tracy is able to obtain legal custody of William. For the first few years of their marriage, Pauletta keeps her job working at a hospice, caring for the elderly. While Tracy works assisting different pastors around Houston.
They just serve God, you know. They believe in serving God. They believe in doing some of the things, the right things that God wanted them to do.
But Tracy's wishes to run a congregation haven't quite panned out.
You stay a little while, you move somewhere else.
Then, 12 years after his wedding, Tracy finally gets his dream job. In July of 2007, he is made pastor of the church where he and Pauletta met, the First New Mount Calvary Baptist Church. But he gets the job not because of what he knows, but who he knows. Members are getting ready to vote from a list of possible candidates when two deacons force them to choose Tracy. One of the deacons is his stepfather.
Tracy's dad and this other deacon brought Tracy in on a Sunday morning and put him in the pulpit and said he was the pastor. And that's when things started happening, just because it didn't happen the way it should have.
Pastor Tracy Burleson and his wife Pauletta run the First New Mount Calvary Baptist Church in Houston's 5th Ward. The little church is damaged when Hurricane Ike tears through town in 2008. But the firestorm brewing among their members is about to make Ike pale in comparison. In the following weeks, as the congregation waits for the grant money to come in, the word spreads that the couple's life at home is far from the nice Christian image they project in public. Stories also surface that only 3 years prior, the Burlesons were charged with abusing one of their foster children using an extension cord and a wooden board.
They weren't in it to help people. They weren't in it to help kids. They were in it to get the check. There was a lot of abuse, and it seemed like a pretty terrible home.
Tracy and Paulette had a ragged relationship, and I've heard rumors that she was more dominant than he was, and they even heard rumors that she would whoop him, she would beat him.
William eventually finds comfort in a friend named Tyone Palmer. She works at the hospital where William goes when he's sick. After a while, she becomes a kind of caregiver to him, and he even brings her around to his father's church. By 2009, the rocky home life with Pauletta prompts William to move out of his father's house and in with Tyone's family.
Tyone took him in. She allowed him to live with her. He helped take care of her children. So William looked at her almost like a mother figure.
Tyone offers William an escape from a dysfunctional household. She offers him mothering and nurturing and caretaking that he's not used to.
William's fragile, and I think he decides to live with Tyone because it's like a respite. It's a place where he feels safe and loved and cared about.
I think that Tyone put herself in a position to exercise profound influence over William. I think that a kid to whom she gave what she gave him in terms of filling the void in his life would probably be willing to do just about anything she asked to maintain her good graces.
But the unified front Tracy and Pauletta present to the public is about to crumble. Tired of his cheating ways, Pauletta leaves Tracy. Rumor has it she catches him with one of his mistresses in bed.
There's no way in the world that I would have went to a man's house and bickered with his wife. You don't go there at that place that they reside in.
This time, Pauletta packs her bags and leaves.
She was just tired. She was just tired of putting up with the foolishness, and he would date 2 or 3 different people.
I think Paulette left to try and bring him back to her and to tell him that he couldn't wander with these other women, that he needed to be home and he needed to be with her, because it didn't make her look good.
But it's about to get worse. In April of 2010, Pauletta catches Tracy in another affair.
They had a meeting at church, and she had left to go pick up her prescription. Well, she said she was gonna go on home, but she didn't go back home. She went to the church, and lo and behold, he was having sex with this special girl.
Tracy is having sex in the church with a member who is mentally challenged.
She told him up and her up, and she told her office up.
When Pauletta calls the deacons to denounce her husband's behavior, it adds fuel to the ongoing effort to get rid of Tracy. The news spreads like wildfire among parishioners.
One of the deacons called and told me about what had happened. I was shocked. I was like most members. I was really shocked.
The fact that Tracy would be in the church and get caught having sexual relations with a person with a cognitive disability says a lot about his character. Having sex with a person with a disability is not only immoral, but it's about needing a sense of power and control.
The fact that he's doing it in the church indicates a profound disrespect for the institution that he claims to represent and believe in. We've seen this behavior from an alarming number of prominent pastors over the years, where they have these positions that give them access to others' adulation, others' affection, others' money, and if they are decent people who are in it for the right reasons, then they will use all of those things to try to improve the lives of others. If they're sociopaths, then they'll use all of those things to try to improve their own lives. And it certainly seems like Tracy falls into the latter category.
The pressure builds on Tracy to quit, or at least acknowledge what he's done. When the pastor stands before the congregation only a few days after the blowout, many members expect some kind of apology. They are given none. But in a strange twist, the congregation learns that Pauletta just moved back into the family home with Tracy.
To be truthful, at that point, my respect level dropped tremendously.
Led by some of the deacons, a group of members decide to file a civil lawsuit to dismiss Tracy.
In March, Paulette Burleson caught him having sex inside the church.
But in the following days, with Tracy's back against the wall, the congregation members wake up to some horrible news.
First New Mount Calvary Baptist Church mysteriously burned to the ground.
I was at home, and my younger brother lives about 3 blocks from the church. So he called and said, hey, Charles. I said, what, man? He said, do you know your church is on fire? My church is on fire. I said, yeah.
Church members are devastated. Some of them openly accuse Tracy and Pauletta of arson, citing that the motive was to destroy evidence of where the grant money had gone.
By this point in Tracy's life, the facade that he has created has started to fragment, if not begin to fall apart. And so a person who's built their life upon a facade, when that starts to happen, will do almost anything to try to hold it together. Because if it does completely fall apart, then they'll feel as if there's nothing left to live for anyway. So it's almost as if they've got nothing left to lose, and they'll go to amazing extremes like arson and even beyond to try to keep that facade intact.
Let's not forget that Tracy has already gotten away with a lot of things he's done wrong. So of course he would think to himself, if I burn down the church, I'll get away with that too.
A suspicious fire has destroyed the First New Mount Calvary Church, and an arson investigation is underway. Members suspect that Pastor Tracy Burleson and his wife helped set the fire in order to destroy evidence of theft. But just days after the church burns to the ground, its problems are overshadowed by an even greater tragedy.
Somebody shot my wife. Can somebody send 911, please?
On May 18th, 2010, a 911 call originating from the Burlesons' home is dispatched to police in Houston. Lead investigator Wayne Kuhlman is among the first police officers to arrive at the scene.
When we arrived out there, there was a female, a black female, laying face down in the driveway of the residence. Appeared to be bleeding from the head profusely.
The bullet pierced her head and neck, killing her instantly. Tracy is frantic. His car, parked further down in the driveway, the engine still running, the driver's door open, and the headlights still on.
We decided that the person that could walk us through what had happened the best, who had last seen her alive, was Tracy Burleson, her husband.
If I rolled in her car.
In this videotaped statement shot right at the crime scene, Tracy gives his deposition to police.
Came outside, we were talking and everything. And I told her, I said, Paulette, I'm finna go down to the store. I said, I'm finna go down. And she said, okay. Well, I know when I came back, she was just slumped over in the chair.
Tracy says his wife was still breathing when he found her. He realized she was dead only after he made the 911 call.
I came right out there and called 911 because I told you I was trying to holler for somebody to help me. I'm supposed to be a man of God. Right. You know, I don't know, that's hate, man. That's hate. To shoot, you know, to do something like that, that's hate. I have to be a man of God, man. I have to be a man of God. Of course, I say that I have to forgive him, man, but that's hard.
The news burns through the neighborhood.
I got there, and all of this tape was out there. She was laying on that ground. They wouldn't let me see her.
On June 8th, when police have enough information to issue arrest warrants against them, they find the pastor in bed with Tyone.
If I had to grade Tyone Palmer on her ability to lie, she would be in like the top 3 of the best liars I ever met in my life.
Actually, that's sort of a joke Sergeant Kuhlman and I have between each other, because he says that she fooled me, but the fact is she fooled both of us.
But William has more surprises in store.
We learned from William that he also slept with Tyone.
William Fuller claims his father and his caregiver pressured him to murder his stepmother, Pauletta Burleson. But why would caregiver Tyone Palmer have anything to do with the victim? She told police she barely knew William's parents. After seeing Tyone's arrest on the news, one of her colleagues at the hospital contacts police with startling information. She's seen the threesome before in a photo in Tyone's locker.
Tyone began telling her coworker about some of the details of her relationship with Tracy and the fact that he was her fiance and they were going to get married at a particular time.
In fact, Tracy had a secret relationship with Tyone ever since William had brought her to church one Sunday.
There was a photograph that showed Ty and Tracy as the mother and father figures.
If you didn't know anything about the parties, you would look at that picture and think, well, that's a real nice looking family.
It was this happy family that existed sort of in a netherworld. So the fact that they all were smiling for the camera is a little surreal to me.
It must have been surreal to Pauletta as well. After all, she was the pastor's wife, desperately trying to cope with her husband's numerous mistresses. Among them, Tyone Palmer. Tyone's attorney, Anthony Osso, says Tracy manipulated his client into believing his marriage with Pauletta was headed to divorce.
A man tells you, I love you, I want to marry you, my marriage is not working out, my divorce papers are going to be signed anytime now, it's almost final, she's moved out of the house. Is that unusual to believe that? She was unsuspecting. She had no reason to doubt him.
But in reality, Pauletta was still playing the part of pastor's wife and fiercely supported her husband's struggle to keep his position in the church.
Tracy was on thin ice. He was basically on probation at the church.
Despite, what was going on behind the scenes in his life, that's not how he portrayed himself to my client.
But after Tracy's last sexual misconduct in the church, Pauletta decided she had had enough and seemed ready to hang Tracy out to dry. Police learn that during the same period, Tyone texted her colleague from the hospital, saying she was desperately looking for a gun.
She showed us text messages between Tyone and herself, asking her to get a gun for her. She would get a reply, what kind of gun? Tyone, I don't care, whatever will get the job done.
This new evidence reinforces William's story that Tyone provided him with the gun to kill Pauletta. But Tyone's defense attorney, Anthony Osso, argues William is no better than his father, an erratic liar whose contempt for Pauletta drove him to take her life.
He would kill her regardless of whether Tyone Palmer ever entered his life. This was not a pre-planned act. It had been brewing, building up, and he was capable of snapping at any time.
William certainly had reasons to hate Pauletta. As a teenager, he'd chosen to leave home because she mistreated him. But why would he now involve Tyone, the Good Samaritan who had gone out of her way to care for him?
She had given him shelter from Paulette and had given him a place to live and had made him part of her family.
But the truth is far stranger. In fact, William did not see Tyone as a mother figure. Not anymore.
We learned that William, and it came as a very shock to us, that he also slept with Tyone.
William loved Tyone so much, he even had a tattoo of her lips on his neck. As the case moves to court, prosecutors are now dealing with a clear-cut love triangle.
Dad over here, son over here. What a shocker.
Tyone's attorney says William preyed on Tyone's feelings to get her to sleep with him by telling her his father never loved her.
A lot of people will look at this and say she should have never slept with him. I think she was so vulnerable, she didn't know what to believe anymore.
But when confronted with Tyone's version of events on the witness stand, William explodes.
We actually watched William be drug out of court in a chokehold in front of the jurors.
Tracy also contradicts his son's testimony, denying that he hired William to kill Pauletta.
There should have been something, whether it's a canceled check or a watch or a gift certificate or something for killing Paulette, but there was just nothing other than William's own word.
Tracy's attorney, Lane Lindsay, presents the jury with an interesting theory. Not only did William want Pauletta dead, he wanted his father to take the blame for her murder. With Tracy behind bars, William could have Tyone to himself.
Here's this woman who has this close friendship with him, and then to have his dad, Tracy, develop a sexual relationship with that person, I think probably really deeply hurt William.
But William denies these allegations and testifies that his father had been asking him to kill Pauletta for months. It was only when Tyone entered the picture that he finally agreed to do it.
Now that Tyone was asking, this woman who'd shown such kindness to him and taken him in and given him the home he never had, when she asked him, that's when he ultimately went ahead with the plan.
The power of love and sex is often stronger than the power of force. Tyone had a level of sway over William that went beyond what Tracy had, and that it was probably born of positive feelings, feelings of love, perhaps fake feelings of love that she set up in him in order to manipulate him.
I don't see her that way. I think that Tracy was a puppet master and Tyone was his puppet. Being that he doesn't really have true emotions for people, it wouldn't have bothered him if Tyone slept with his son. And so I think it's completely possible that he told her to lure his son in physically and sexually and then reward him with sex after he killed his stepmother.
Tracy had more than one motive for wanting Pauletta dead. By the end, it's clear all three parties are guilty. Tyone Palmer gets 10 years for tampering with evidence and 7 years for murder. William Fuller gets 20 years for murder. And Tracy Burleson gets a life sentence without parole for capital murder. He is appealing his conviction.
Tracy will probably never get what he deserves. He got a life sentence. I mean, look what his wife got.
I really think they should have given him the death penalty. He needs to rest. And he needs to let the other people rest.
He wasn't nothing but the devil from hell on earth, here on earth, walking, breathing, God's good air. You know, he was just the devil.
You know, if I had anything to ask Tracy, I would ask him, you know, is this, why would you put your son involved in something like this? I mean, go get somebody else.
The First New Mount Calvary Baptist Church is still in tatters. Arson investigators could never determine what caused the fire. The members are confident they will one day rebuild and worship there, as they did before Tracy Burleson ever became their pastor.
That church was a big part of their history. It was a big part of their lives. And they lost all that behind this individual and his actions and his activities. I hope that they're able to pick everything up and move on.